So as it's the first Sunday of the month, we're going to be taking our monthly trip up to the therapy garden, which is available for patients and visitors and is situated at the back of the spinal ward. Our reporter Ron Laver caught up with the hospital's horticultural therapist Viv Williamson for the latest update.
So we're back in the therapy garden, and this is just a little dry bed which I filled with drought-tolerant plants. I've got a couple of brooms here, some varieties of grasses. This little one which I've only just bought because it was a special deal at B&Q, Penniseton, Cetaceum rubrum, with lovely red leaves and fluffy kind of long foxtails in the autumn, which would be nice, and various other Mediterranean style plants growing here. I've got an agapanthus which I've popped in, hoping it will do fine because it is from South Africa, so it should be quite drought tolerant. And things like dill and fennel, which you can use for culinary purposes, but also they're fabulous for droughts. Over here under my wishing well, I've got two large pots, one with a honeysuckle and one with a clematis. And as you can see, I've got pipes going into the pots, probably about 3 inches wide.
Quite wide, aren't they?
Yeah, and the idea is that I've put them halfway down the pot. I'll be able to fill them up with water from my watering can, and then the water will gradually release into the pot.
So like a slow drip feed almost.
Yes, that's right. Yep. The other thing I'm doing here, I've got some little hanging baskets. At the moment they're filled with pansies and violas.
They look beautiful.
Yeah, they're really coming on. I'm using water retaining gel in these pots.
Oh, right, yes, yeah.
And that's like the stuff that you find in babies' nappies. It soaks up all the water, and then the plant roots can go and access the water whenever they want it. So it does mean that you only need to water your plants about once a week.
Strawberry plants.
Yes, and they're in a one of these wonderful planters. It's quite tall, and it's got little circular holes out the sides and going all the way down to the bottom, with strawberry plants popping out. Now the question is, how on earth do you water those little ones that are going down the sides to the bottom? Because every other year they pretty much dried up and complained. This year, as you can see, I've put in from the top a long pot, and I planted the strawberries around the edges of it. So similar to the pipes I put in the other planters, I'm going to fill this long pot with water, and then the water should seep out through the bottom slowly over time. And hopefully this will keep all the little strawberries nicely watered from underneath. Right, so we're going to the greenhouse. I've got some very thirsty plants in there. Today being Monday, and over the weekend they've dried out a lot. So we'll have a look at those.
Okay.
You might have noticed the shading in here.
Yes, you've put up some netting, haven't you, along the roof there?
Yes, it wasn't here last time you came.
No.
Because it's been very hot in March, I had to put shading up to protect the plants. It's very simple to do. I just strung some wire across. I bought the netting, which actually was quite expensive, but can you see how I've attached it to the wire?
Yep, paper clips.
It's the simplest and cheapest solution I could find. I just raided the department stationery cupboard.
So straight out of the stationery department.
Got a box of paper clips, and that's how I've attached the shading, and it works perfectly.
Yeah, it's beautiful shaded on this side of the greenhouse, isn't it?
Yeah, so you don't have to invest in lots of expensive shutters or blinds. You can just get a little bit of cheapest shading, use some wire and paper clips, and away you go.
Ingenious. I like it.
Right, we're going to water some plants now. For maximum effect, I've got this special watering can which has got a button on it. And what happens is the button where my thumb is connects on a little plastic line right through to the end of the watering can where the water comes out, the business end. And there's a little stopper which stops any water getting out unless I press the button with my thumb. So I can water individual plants with this
Can you get those from just normal garden centres?
You can get them from normal garden centres. They're becoming very popular because water is becoming quite scarce. So I would recommend to people that they get one of these. It just puts the water exactly where you want it to go. Right, I'm going to put a little bit of plant food in here. It's your normal Miracle Grow. Tapping it into the water, and then I've got a little bit of bamboo which I put down into my watering can and mix it round just to make sure it dissolves nicely, so that when I feed the plants they can get it straight to their roots. Right, now let's see who's thirstiest. I've got a hosta here that I'm going to be planting out quite soon. I was loving that. And over here I've got some seedlings that are going to go for sale in my May sale. So we need to encourage a bit of growth for those, so that when the sale comes along they're looking nice and big and bushy. So here I've got some seeds coming along here. These are little tomato seedlings. I'm growing dwarfs this year because I thought it would be a sensible idea to have little patio planters in the therapy garden. So I'm only doing little dwarf ones here. These are cherry dwarfs. I've got a few butternut squash growing here, and just over here I've got some sweet corn coming up as well. It's a cucumber, Burpless Tasty F1, looking good.
How long before all these seedlings will be transplanted into the garden now?
Well, the flowers, when we sell them beginning of May, people will be able to put them straight into the garden then, because hopefully there won't be any frosts.
Yeah.
The things like courgettes, squash and corn, I'd wait till the middle of May really before putting them out until you've got a really good stonking plant. I don't water on a regular basis. I wait until they look as if they need it.
Right.
And there's a very simple way of doing this. You just put your finger on the soil, and if it feels moist, you don't water it. You can actually dig your finger into the soil to see whether it's moist underneath, because sometimes it'll be dry on top but still quite moist underneath.
So if it's moist underneath, don't water.
Yeah, I mean most people overwater their plants and kill them off with kindness. So yeah, keep a check on yourself, be kind to your plants.
Okay.
Right, I think we'll go and plant some seeds out in the garden now. I've got some onion seeds and lettuce seeds here. Right, we'll head off down to the vegetable garden. I've got an interesting addition to the vegetable garden. Somebody from the offices were throwing out a gadget to hold files, and they put it in our office prior to throwing it out. Well, I saw that it would be fabulous for a wheelchair garden, and here it is. It's just a little, it's a red frame.
Yes. Couple of trays hanging from it, but basket trays, aren't they?
The basket trays. When I got it, it had basket trays underneath, right at the bottom as well, and a long metal bar. So I just detached the metal bar, took off the trays, and now you can get a wheelchair under there nicely. This afternoon, when I've got a group of spinal injuries patients, we're going to cover the inside of these baskets with plastic, fill them up with soil, and transplant some mixed leaves and lettuces into them.
That is absolutely ideal, isn't it, for someone in a wheelchair?
Oh yes, it's perfect. Yeah,
perfect
they're lovely.
Height.
Lovely. Right, so we're now going to plant some lettuces and spring onions. First of all, I'm going to dig over the soil, removing all these little weeds that have sprung up. Right, this soil is lovely actually, it doesn't need much turning over. I'm making some little rows with the tip of the trowel. Not very deep at all, because if you look at these seeds, they're really tiny. And the rule of thumb is only plant them twice as deep as the seed is wide. I'm just going to put a few of those in here. and then cover them over with soil, but only very lightly, because if you cover them too deeply, then the little germinal won't be able to get out. So as soon as they're large enough to handle, I'll be thinning them out to about an inch apart,
Right.
so that it gives the plants lots of room to grow and they don't have any competition. Finally, we're going to feed a few of our hungry shrubs and roses. Okay. Here we have our canomeles, which is in full flower. This is the one that we talked about pruning as soon as it finishes. Yeah. We also have a choicea here, which is just about to burst forth, and it's going to be lovely. Choicea have lovely savoury scented leaves. Have a smell of that.
Oh yeah.
It's really lovely. So I've got some grow more here in my little packet, and I'm just going to sprinkle a few bits underneath.
Well, these are grow more granules, aren't
These
they?
are grow more granules. This is it's a general fertiliser, right? And at this time of the year, when the plants are putting out so much new growth, they're just a powerhouse of energy, and any help we can give them, they'll really appreciate it. So I'm just going to scatter this around the base of the plants, actually.
So that's just really a light dusting there, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't have to put a lot down. They do get a lot of fertiliser just from the natural fall of leaves, because it's a cycle. As the leaves fall, the nitrogen goes back into the soil. But this just gives them a boost, because in an ornamental garden, we want them to look spectacular. We don't just want them to look ordinary.
Yeah.
If you look around, you can often see birds picking up material for their nests as well. And we do have a little tip box over in the corner, which has always had a family in it. So it's a very exciting time for wildlife in the garden. All the bees are coming out of their holes in the ground, and birds are looking for places to nest. It's just lovely.
And beautiful here to hear the birds at this time of year, isn't it?
It's gorgeous.
It really makes you feel like spring is here. Okay, Viv, well, I know you've got patients arriving soon that you've got to tend to, so we'll leave it there, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the beginning of May.
Thank you, and happy gardening.
Thank you.
This is Brockley News, and still to come, we've got Bedside Bingo coming up in just under 15 minutes' time. Your chance to win some Super Radio Brockley goodies without leaving your bed. And then at 8 o'clock tonight is all your choice of tunes on the Sunday Request Show with Emily Colebrook. Next, though, we'll be finding out more about the Disability Foundation. And you won't be disappointed yet. The Disability Foundation are another charity based here in the hospital who provide holistic therapies for patients and their carers. Now, every month they do us a therapy of the month, so let's find out what it is this month in the company of our reporter Sue Weston.
My name's Sue Weston, and I'm here today with David Godfrey from TDF, that's the Disability Foundation, and we're going to be talking about the monthly therapy of the month. So, David, what is the therapy of the month this month?
Therapy for the month this month is actually reflexology. And reflexology has been around since time immemorial. When we look at reflexology, most of the information we get today comes from China. A lot of research done in China on the use of reflexology for a whole array of potential ailments. So Native American Indians use it, Russians use it, all around the world, some form of reflexology has taken place. People have the impression that reflexology is working on the feet, which it is. Your feet have something in the region of 7,000 nerve endings. But we can work on the hands, we can work on the face, we can work on the ears. Because they are all mirror images of our actual body. And what actually happens is that, based on the Chinese philosophy of traditional Chinese medicine, if qi or energy flows freely, blood flows freely, you're healthy. If either qi or blood becomes stagnant, then you tend to gain an ailment. So if you were to say what is reflexology, reflexology is unblocking blockages. And if you think about it as the analogy for the home, if your drain gets blocked and you don't unblock it, it's going to manifest itself into a whole major problem. So reflexology helps to unblock blockages in your body's energy system. So with the mirror image of your whole body on your feet, for example, your toes represent your head, the sole of your foot represents your chest area, the arch of your foot represents the abdomen, and your heel represents your pelvic area. And then, of course, on top of that, you've got your arms and legs added too. And every part of your foot represents a different part of the body. So effectively, right foot is right half of the body, left foot is left half of the body. And if you find a blockage in one of those meridians or one of those energy lines within the body, it will literally help to clear that and carry it all the way through the body. So an individual will present themselves. The very first thing you do, you have them on a couch or in the chair, you have their feet raised so that they're comfortable, you're comfortable. You look at the feet, and the first thing you do is look to see whether there are any blemishes, whether they've got any marks on the feet, because they all refer to different reflexes on the foot. Once you've done that, you clean the feet, you relax the feet, and then you gently work through each foot. Working through each foot, then you close the individual down. Now, as you work through the foot, there's a very classic saying with reflexology: reflexology should not hurt. It may feel uncomfortable, but it's only feeling uncomfortable because you've come across a blockage which you're unblocking. At the end of the day, what it does, it moves toxins from your feet into your body. You're recommended that you drink at least 1.5 litres of water during the next 24 hours to flush it out of your body, because like everything else in life, everything falls to your feet. So once you start working on the feet, you're pushing that back into the body. It's got to come out somewhere, otherwise it will go back down again. Invariably, when you're working on a client's feet, you will find that the client will drift off. And their breathing changes. It becomes wonderfully shallow, and they're almost in a dream state themselves. At the end of the treatment, you bring them round, you close them down, and they go away until they wish to come back next time.
And do you have some people coming to you that have very ticklish feet? Because I have very, very sensitive ticklish feet.
Oh, most people come in and say, oh, you can't touch my feet. You know, if they've never had reflexology before, you know, my feet are sensitive. Everybody's feet are sensitive to a greater or lesser extent. All that one does is, if they have ticklish feet, you just change the pressure. And you don't look at the feet whilst you're carrying out the treatment. You actually look at their body actions, their facial expressions, which will tell you whether or not it's hard enough or whether it's too hard. And of course, all the way through the treatment, you're checking with the client that the pressure is not too great for them.
And I'm supposing that if somebody really didn't like having their feet touched, then they would choose something else, like Reiki.
Not necessarily, because you've always got the hands, and the hands are less sensitive than the feet.
Oh, right.
And
okay.
Working on the hands is equally as effective as working on the feet. And then, of course, you can work on the face and the ears. So, you know, if they really do have a problem with the feet, they may have an injured foot, we could work one foot, one hand. So it becomes this wonderful interchangeable therapy.
And how does it work on your face then?
Well, if you look at your face, again, this wonderful mirror image, and if you take your nose as being the spine, then underneath your eyes is where your lungs are, round your chin is where your abdominal area is. So effectively, you do a massage on the face to open the face up, you go through an opening sequence, you work on those parts, and you close it down. It's a shorter treatment than working on the feet, but highly effective.
That sounds absolutely amazing. In fact, I really think I need to book in with you myself. And if I wanted to do that, David, how would I do that?
You contact the Disability Foundation through our receptionist, which is 0208 954 7373, and they will send you an information pack on what therapies are on offer, particular information about reflexology. You'll be invited in, and following a consultation, it's whether that particular therapy is right for you or one of the other many therapies that we have on offer.
Thank you, David. That's really, really interesting. Thanks very much.
That was David Godfrey speaking to us a short time ago. And by the way, if you're interested in the work that the Disability Foundation do, then they've got a special taster evening coming up here in the hospital on the 23rd of April. So in just over a week's time, you can go down to the teaching centre and experience some of those amazing therapies for yourself as well. This is Hospital Radio Brockley. It is Brockley News. The award-winning Radio Brockley, of course, officially still number one in the UK, or sorry, number one in London, number two in the UK. Maybe next year number one in the UK, you never know. Right, this is where we tell you which songs and artists have been requested the most on Radio Brockley in the last month. We're looking back at March now. Normally we do this on the first one of the month, but we weren't able to do it last week, so we'll do it this week instead. The top artists of March, as chosen by you, the patients then, were like this: number 5, Whitney Houston; number 4, Frank Sinatra; Simply Red, your third favourite; Taylor Swift at number 2; and would you believe the Beatles are back up on top on the top artists of the month. The great thing about the request chart is that you get the old favourites alongside the current artists, and it's much the same on the top songs of the month as well. Number 5 is the Lighthouse Family with High; number 4, Dancing Queen from ABBA; Naughty Boy featuring Sam Smith and La La La, that was at number 3. And a very popular track from the last 12 months, George Ezra and Budapest, was at number 2. However, your most requested song for March on Radio Brockley was also the song that was the most requested for the whole of 2014. It is, of course, Pharrell Williams. He's back on top with this one, Happy.
It might seem crazy.
So that was the most requested song then on Radio Brockley, and that was Pharrell Williams with Happy, most requested song on March for Radio Brockley. And of course, every request that you asked for on Radio Brockley gets counted towards the monthly and annual request charts. But don't forget, if you want to listen again to any of our recent interviews from Brockley News, you can do by following the links from our website at radiobrockley.org. You can follow the links to our YouTube site to listen to some of our recent interviews, including our recent interview with the hospital's Chief Executive, Rob Hurd, as well. Don't forget, coming up next, it's a very special edition of Bedside Bingo. I can tell you that it's coming live from the Duke of Gloucester ward this evening. So a big hi to everyone on Duke of Gloucester ward, but to everyone else who's playing along this evening. And then at 8 o'clock tonight is all your choice of tunes on the Sunday Request Show with Emily Colebrook. Brockley News returns at the same time next week, but from me, Alan Joyce, good night.